Hello and welcome to another episode of Inside the Huddle. Today is Sunday, October 12th. This is episode 80 of the Inside the Huddle podcast. Thank you, as always, for joining us. We are in the middle of week number 6, middle of the day, couple 4 o'clock games going on right now. All of the 1 o'clocks and the London game in the books. Sorry to everybody that had to watch that London game this morning. Apologies to the people in London who think that's American football, but that is not anything near actual exciting football. So hopefully they really get a better taste of it next week when I believe the Rams are in town next week, and I think it's the Jaguars as well. So battle between those two teams. Lots to discuss in this podcast. Going to kind of go around the league. Ravens struggling. We'll get to the Cowboys. We'll get to the Jets. 2 bad losses for both of our teams today. So we'll talk about that, get into a little Giants, get into a little Eagles going back to Thursday night, kind of around the divisions. Steelers taking control of the AFC North, which certainly has come as a little bit of a surprise here 6 weeks into the NFL season. It's middle of October. The NFL season's flying by. So a lot to get into today. DiMari, how's it going, man? I know minus the Cowboys loss. Hopefully you're enjoying your Sunday full of football.
Yeah, not doing too bad. Middle of October, season's kind of flying by. Somewhat feels like, but we are right around the corner of Halloween. And for you kind of mentioned the London game earlier, so apologies to everyone for Matt Eberflus dressing up as the defensive coordinator for Halloween. I guess he's getting started early. So rough week for both of our teams to start, but a lot more football to be played. Long season might be over for you guys. It's not looking too great for us either. But yeah, let's get around the league. But despite our two teams looking awful, there's been some pretty good games today. Some nail biters. So let's get into it.
Yeah, there has been some good games. That's always the benefit, at least just from the Jets fan perspective. Watching the Jets game, it's 3 terrible hours of football, just bad quality football. But getting to watch the rest of the league makes up for it because it's actually good football. It's exciting football. And we've had some good games. I mean, Chargers, Dolphins was close. Colts, Cardinals was close. You even obviously had the Carolina game come down to the last kick against the Cowboys. So we'll obviously get into that. But we'll open up here with the Ravens, something that we were going to talk about last week. Carry it into this week anyway, because they're 1-5. And it's kind of crazy to think where we are with the Ravens because, they were 1-1. They had that really bad loss against the Bills, or that really heartbreaking loss, I should say, against the Bills, the Derrick Henry fumble, the late collapse on Sunday night to open up the season. Then they turned around and, destroyed the Browns. And then they followed it up with a couple tough losses to the Lions and the Chiefs. And even at 1-3, you still felt like, okay, there are some concerns, but then the Lamar Jackson injury, you got blown out last week. And now this week in a game where the Rams didn't even really show up, like Stafford did not play well. Puka Nacua actually got hurt in this game. As a Matthew Stafford, Puka Nacua fantasy owner, this was by far the worst week for those two players. And they still lose this game. Cooper Rush at quarterback did nothing. Tyler Huntley did nothing. The Ravens are 1-5. They are a complete disaster. Up to this point, their defense has been a disaster. And even when they had Lamar, they were losing games. So the season's pretty much over. Like I don't see a world where Baltimore climbs out of this. Super Bowl prediction looks terrible. I mean, what was I thinking? But what are your thoughts here on where things stand with Baltimore? A 4th straight loss, 1-5 on the season going into their bye week. They're a train wreck.
Yeah, it is a disaster in Baltimore, and it's kind of funny. The defense, and you mentioned it, the defense shows up today to hold the Rams to 17, and this is the defense they've been asking for through weeks 1 through 5. Lamar's not there to put points on the board, and they finally get the stops they need, but it's kind of tough. You are expecting Baltimore to be good every year. You look at this Baltimore team, you look at Kansas City, you look at Buffalo. Those are kind of the 3 in the AFC are going to be in the race. They're going to be in the playoffs, playing meaningful football down the stretch. And now we're looking at a Baltimore team who's going to miss the playoffs. And during the offseason, we jokingly talked about it. I know we're probably going to get into Pittsburgh a little later, but we talked about the division and what are the chances of Pittsburgh winning the division. And we both agreed Lamar and Burrow have to practically miss half the season for that to happen. And look where we're sitting at right now. So sucks for Baltimore. But kind of just watching in the last few weeks, they seem lost offensively and defensively. They seem lost, and it kind of makes me think, and maybe this is a question you probably are wondering as well. Do they move on from Harbaugh? Is Harbaugh in the hot seat? Do you consider going a new way? Do you clean house? Is it clean slate? Like there has to be something because as bad as you look at this year, you take things into consideration. A lot of the defensive players are hurt. Lamar is hurt. This is also a team that has great regular season success, but come playoff time, respectfully, they are the Dallas Cowboys and they cannot get it done, and that's been the case since Lamar's been there.
Yeah, they've had the multiple years in a row now. I think it's been 3 straight years in a row because they missed the playoffs with 2021, but 3 straight years in a row with the playoff exits, losing in the conference title game 2 years ago, last year, right, losing to Buffalo. There has been every single year when they've lost in the playoffs, there's been those arguments and those conversations about Harbaugh potentially being fired, Harbaugh potentially being let go, just even though they're getting into the playoffs, not getting them over the top. Obviously did a while back with Flacco, but you're looking since 2012 was the last time. So it's been a while. It's been a lot of playoff exits. And Harbaugh is one of those coaches where every year you kind of go into it where his seats kind of been like a little warm each of the past couple of seasons where if he doesn't get it done, is do they move on? If he doesn't get it done, do they move on? It's always kind of been one of the questions. I think there's a real chance if this team misses the playoffs, and not even if, more so when at this point. I mean, you'd have to ask 1-5. They'd have to go on a crazy run here. Really, probably go 9-2 to get to 10 wins to make the playoffs here. So you're asking them over the next 11 games to probably go 9-2, which is a lot to ask for out of a defense that, even though they played well today, even if you get Lamar back, can you really trust this defense moving forward? Today was just one game. They've got to prove more than just today. And I think there is a real chance that this is it for Harbaugh. If they win 5 games plus the early playoff exits, and the way the defenses look, that's the most concerning part. And then they, of course, moved on from Mike McDonald, or let him go to Seattle, which that hurts now, I think, more than ever because of the impact it's had on the defense. I think there's a real case to be made that this could be it for Harbaugh. And it feels like the last couple years, like I said, there's been those conversations. I could definitely see it happening. What about you?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I mean, we've talked about it with Shanahan before, and you've seen it in Dallas personally. McCarthy, 3 straight years, 12 wins, they can't get it done. And I know some people might look at it like, hey, that's a dumb decision. And I've had this argument before kind of with McCarthy as well, where you can't find a coach to instantly step in and build, an organization where it's success instantly. You're making the playoffs. You look good. But at some point, if you're not going to get it done, they are going to get rid of you, and that's just life. That's part of it. So for a team like that 2012 that hasn't gotten it done, and it's always the playoff early exit, you got to find somebody that can step in and get the job done. So it kind of sucks for Harbaugh because he is a very good coach. Baltimore has been very competitive for a very long time, but it's kind of getting to that point where, hey, you aren't getting things done. I know there's injuries, but that's part of the NFL. You still have to find ways to win games. He's not doing that. So, yeah, the seat's kind of hot.
Yeah, and the Ravens have been kind of the gold standard in the NFL in terms of just year in and year out consistency. Just a team that's going to be in the playoffs every year, going to be in the conversation every year in that tough division in the AFC North. To be good every single year in that division is really hard to do. They've been one of those gold standards. But yeah, you make a good point. Like there's the grouping of coaches, Shanahan, Harbaugh, you mentioned McCarthy, that of all, even though they're winning in the regular season, they're all kind of still a little bit on the hot seat, or a little warm their seat is the last couple of years. Obviously, McCarthy ended up getting canned, but during his time, it was always, you got to win a championship. If you don't, you're going to get fired. And I would even throw, even to a certain extent, just thinking of some of these other coaches, maybe like a Sean McDermott in Buffalo. Yep. It feels like every year they fall short. There is Bills fans that are calling for him to be moved. And even Tomlin, too, in Pittsburgh. Now, we'll get to Pittsburgh in a little bit, but you've kind of got that feeling, too, from some Pittsburgh fans that it's like, okay, great, we can get above 500. We can't win a playoff game. It's wild card weekend, go on the road and get smoked. That's been the story of the Pittsburgh Steelers the last couple of years. So even him, I would say, and Harbaugh's in that grouping. Now to miss the playoffs, that certainly could be the killer. I would say though, if Harbaugh misses if Harbaugh does get fired, there is tons of teams that are calling him right away. And I don't want to spoil anything, but if things really go south here, continuing with the Jets, they could be potentially one of those teams. And I don't want to, I just want to put that out there. I'll explain in a little bit, but Harbaugh is a guy to keep an eye on for the entire, I mean, let's go down the list. I mean, how many teams would take Harbaugh right now as their head coach? Probably a lot, tons.
Yeah.
Even teams that haven't, like Tennessee, you go down the list, there'll be a ton of teams that could be open to Harbaugh. And Harbaugh's obviously got to be open to coaching, and he's still got to get fired. Maybe they won't fire him, but yeah, it's a tough spot. And, you know, what's funny with Baltimore is I feel like there was this notion the last couple of weeks that, oh, well, they don't have Lamar. It hasn't been Lamar. It's been the defense. They with Lamar or without Lamar, they stink. They were 1-4 in games Lamar started, or 1-3, and now they're 0-4 in games that, or 0-2 in games that he hasn't started. I mean, they come out of the bye week. They get Chicago, Miami, Minnesota, Cleveland, Jets, Bengals. It's not a crazy difficult schedule, but with the way they're playing, you'd have to imagine if they're going to make a run, they probably have to win, what, 5 of those?
Probably say all of them. I'd probably say all because right
then they
now
still have Pittsburgh
Pittsburgh
twice in Green Bay.
Exactly. You get Pittsburgh twice. You throw Green Bay in there, and you know Pittsburgh is going to continuously be good up until it actually matters in the playoffs. So for Baltimore's case, I mean, you right now are catching Pittsburgh, and it looks like they are not going to fall off anytime soon. And I know 6 weeks again, a lot of football left, but it's looking more like it's their division to lose. So unless things completely go south for Pittsburgh, they might have the North wrapped up. So for Baltimore, yeah, you're gonna have to make a strong push, especially when Burrow is also coming back. So you got to throw the Bengals in the equation. You know how that gets with Burrow there, also a team with another awful defense. So it's going to start with just 1 week at a time. Now, I know that's cliche, but you kind of have to win out. Every week from now on is do or die for Baltimore.
Yeah, I agree. They've got to just win football games, stack up wins, because 1-5, it's a long journey to, like we said, just to get the 10 wins, you got to go 9-2 at this point after starting 1-5. So it's tough. I guess a little bit on the Rams. I mean, 4-2 now, and we'll get back to maybe to just the AFC North and the Steelers here. But 4-2 now, had that really tough loss against the Niners last week, going for it, missing it. Ugly, but a good win today. Where do you stand with the Rams? Matthew Stafford the last 2 games has been excellent today, a little bit bumpy, but Puka Nacua has been phenomenal. That offense has been flying. Still liking your Super Bowl pick.
Yeah, I still like it. I'm still confident
mine.
in it. They should be 6-0. They really should be 6-0. Philly was complete blunder. I mean, you're up 19 in the third quarter. You find a way to lose that one. And then last week, you go for it on 4th down, and you don't get it. This is a very good Rams team that I feel like not enough people are talking about just offensively and defensively. The numbers that Puka are putting up is insane. Devontae Adams looks good. A little bias here. Kyron Williams might not light it up on the scoreboard, but as a fantasy owner, I am proud to have Kyron Williams as my running back. I like the Rams. I like what the Rams are doing. But what makes me nervous is when it comes playoff time, are they going to be able to maintain the consistency that they have? Because we've seen it against Philly. We've seen it against San Fran last week, where it's like they go on these stretches of momentum where they're going to run away with the game. Game is theirs, and they kind of start to slow down, take the foot off the gas pedal when it comes down, third, fourth quarter, second half, and that makes me kind of nervous. But as of now, I like what the Rams are doing, but they're going to have to figure it out for the sake of, and I say that in terms of playing 4 complete quarters of football. They're going to have to figure it out, because I think come playoff time, where teams are more familiar with the Rams and obviously more film on them and whatnot, you're not going to sneak by these teams playing good for 3.5 quarters of football, 2 quarters of football. That's not going to get it done.
Yeah. And that AFC West is exciting. It's awesome right now. You're looking at that division and 3 teams potentially coming out of there. If the season would end right now, you would have San Fran as the overall number 1 seed. Now, 4:00 game is still happening during this
Yeah.
recording, but for either way, San Fran near the top there, Rams 6 seed, Seattle 5 seed. So potential for 3 NFC West teams possibly. You've obviously, you look on the outside and you've got, Minnesota. We'll see if they could do anything. The Commanders are still a team to keep an eye on. Carolina now all of a sudden in the NFC South is making some noise, which we'll get to. But yeah, the Rams Bills, I believe, right? Was the pick?
Rams Bills.
Ravens Eagles was a huge mistake. I don't know what I was thinking. I was going to take the Lions too, because I still believed in the Lions, but I just didn't do it, and I should have. Oh well. I guess that can transition us though into talking about Ravens Eagles and all that before we get to the Cowboys and the Jets and those two. Actually, we'll start with Pittsburgh first before we get to that. 4-1, first place in the division. Pittsburgh probably has the AFC North wrapped up. I mean, I know it's so early, but let's be honest, who is going to take over that division? Cincy's been awful. Cleveland's been awful. Baltimore's been awful. They're going to probably run away with it.
Yep, just like we drew it up, just like we played during the off season. 42, 43 however old years old, Rodgers come in here and wins the division. But you got to give them props. I mean, we talked about them all off season, how bad this offense is, and you lose George Pickens. Thank you, by the way, every day. Pittsburgh, I am so thankful for that. But you lose George Pickens and then Metcalf. How can Metcalf work with Rodgers with their personalities? How can Tomlin and Rodgers work with their personalities? And it's working out. It's everything, and they're doing it with no run game too. Let me just throw that in there too. Like the run game has really not been good for Pittsburgh, so that's kind of just a better thing for them. For the sake of Rodgers, where Rodgers kind of wants to be the hero, I guess you can say, and he's doing that. He has them 4-1. They're playing good football. Defensively, they don't look as good and as sharp as we are used to, but hey, they are getting it done. They're winning games. So yeah, I think the division is theirs to lose. I don't see them slipping up, through the course of the season to kind of give that away. So I guess congrats to the Steelers on the North. Make it count come playoff time.
Yeah, it's the Steelers they've been, a team that has just kind of squeaked in the last couple of years. They've gotten very, very competent quarterback play. This is who Rodgers needs to be at this point in his career. Just don't turn the ball over, make the throws you need to make, be competent. With a good defense, you should win games. That was supposed to be the whole path to the Jets success. That never happened, obviously. And, should we be surprised that it didn't happen? And like Rodgers, if he goes on and they win the Super Bowl this year, I wouldn't be shocked at this point. The Jets are 0-17. Rodgers wins the Super Bowl, and we're back to the drawing board in February. Just how it rolls.
And I just want to throw this in there too. I personally think Mike Tomlin deserves an award. You already said he can be considered probably better than Belichick in terms of coaching.
Definitely now.
Definitely now. You
watch issues.
And just you watch Russell Wilson, who lasted 3 weeks, 2 weeks, whatever the case was with the Giants, get benched to the point where Jackson Dart, and I know we're going to get into them slightly, Jackson Dart goes to the blue tent. They will completely forget about coaching the game, instantly goes to the tent after one Russell Wilson pass. And then Justin Fields, who has played 2 games, I'm so sorry, but Justin Fields has played 2 games, 8 quarters of football. In one of those games, he threw 45 yards, which was this morning. And there was another game where he threw 27 yards in 4 quarters of football. That is abysmal. So for Mike Tomlin to take those 2 incompetent people that we call quarterbacks to the playoffs and win 10 games, he needs an extension. He needs an award. And they need to rename the street outside of the stadium Mike Tomlin Way when it's all said and done. Because that is impressive.
No, Mike, I've never understood the Mike Tomlin hate from NFL fans, but more so Steelers fans. Like there was a lot of Steelers fans that were so over him after last season. and I never understood it. He took Mitch Trubisky, Kenny Pickett to the playoffs. I mean, let's be honest. He rolled into Buffalo as a 7 seed with Mitch Trubisky as a starting quarterback. What do you expect to happen? Of course they're going to get smoked. But the fact that he got there in that division, in the AFC, a conference that is loaded with quarterbacks, is crazy. At least when they're healthy, loaded with quarterbacks, that's crazy. I've never understood. I've always thought that Tomlin is, and we've talked about this a ton, obviously, such a great coach, but more so, I don't know, maybe undervalued a little bit what he's actually done. Like people want to talk about, oh, well, he hasn't won a playoff game since what I think it's 2018. But look what he's been dealing with. The fact that he's gone to playoffs, the fact that he's finished above 500 all these years. And I said in the offseason, you want to fire Tomlin, I'll take him in a heartbeat. I think most teams would. You would take that type of consistency from him in the regular season. You give him a quarterback, and look, credit to Rodgers. He's had a good season so far. He's doing what he needs to do, and they have a very good defense on paper that hasn't quite lived up to expectations so far. But today was kind of that first time where the pass rush just got home and it was just swarming Dylan Gabriel. 6 sacks on the day. TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith, Nick Herbig, even Jalen Ramsey actually got in for 2 sacks. Derek Harmon. So everybody was getting in on the sack party. You kind of saw that elite defense round into form today, albeit against a bad Browns team, but you still like to see that from that defense. The defense plays like that and Rodgers continues. They're going to win the division. And I don't think it's crazy to say that they might be able to make some noise in the playoffs. I really don't. Like that's how well they're playing right now. They're winning games. I mean, it'll be a big test 2 weeks from now. They'll get a short week against Cincy on Thursday night. And then after that, they'll face Green Bay and Indy. Those will be 2 big back-to-back games. That Green Bay game Sunday night will be excellent. Rodgers against his former team. That'll be awesome. But yeah, I mean, they might be able to make some noise. Like, watch out for Pittsburgh. I don't think people could just say, oh, they're 4-1, crappy division. They'll get bounced again. They can make some noise.
Truthfully, you look at the AFC as a whole, it's Baltimore.
Yeah.
I know this is crazy to say. It's the Colts. And I know they lost today, but Jacksonville. I think Jacksonville has also looked pretty well. And you look elsewhere and it's like, who do you think will beat Pittsburgh? The AFC West doesn't look good. No one, our predictions, by the way, of Denver and the Chargers look awful so far. And they just have played bad brands of football. But you look at the West, it's not too great. The South, can we talk about the Colts, talk about the Jags here? The North is just Pittsburgh. The East is just Buffalo. So, I mean, it's all about who's going to get hot at the right moment. So if Pittsburgh can they're kind of hot now, but stay hot, even if they kind of slip up a little bit, but get hot later on as the season goes on. We're talking about later weeks. Yeah, that's the team to watch out for. Definitely.
Yeah, good. You make a good point by that. When you just look at the standings right now, it's funny. I was talking to somebody about this the other day. We are potentially in for. You remember the Nick Foles, Case Keenum? I don't know if you've seen that too floating around.
Blake Bortles, yep.
Yeah, and I don't know. Have you seen that floating around on Twitter again?
I have.
About like we might be in for one of those weird conference title weekends, like championship weekend. We might be in for a really strange quarterback combo. Like we've gotten so used to Allen, Mahomes, and then now it's obviously been Hurts and whoever, like Purdy, or who did they play last year in the title game? The Eagles, the Daniels. Yeah. Like we've gotten used to that, more so Hurts, but we could be in for a weird like Daniel Jones, Trevor Lawrence, and then in the NFC like Darnold and like Baker Mayfield, where it's not Hurts, there's no Allen, there's no Lamar, there's no Mahomes. We could be in for Burrow. We could be in for one of those really weird championship Sundays with just quarterbacks that you would never think, the 4 of them. Not taking away from any of what those quarterbacks have done, but like if you would have told anybody 4 years ago that like a championship Sunday would include Daniel Jones, Trevor Lawrence, Baker Mayfield, and Sam Darnold, I think they would have called you crazy. But we could be headed for that. I mean, the Colts are the number 1 seed. And or maybe you get some like Rodgers, who everybody thought was done and nobody thought had any chance. Maybe you get like Rodgers in the championship for one final time in his career against, I don't know, maybe a Mahomes or not Mahomes probably, but maybe like an Allen. So maybe get Allen, but like Rodgers would be a surprise at this point in his career, like 42 years old. I don't think anybody saw that. So we could be in for some surprises, I think, Championship Sunday. For sure.
Imagine just being in like a 10-year, longer than that, like a 15-year coma. You wake up and you see Colts and Steelers, and Big Ben and Ben and Peyton Manning in the championship game, and it's Daniel Jones and a 43-year-old Aaron Rodgers. Can't make this up.
And you wake up from that 15-year coma, and the Jets still haven't ended their playoff drought.
Dallas still has not won a Super Bowl either. Yes. Or got to the conference championship game.
Yes, didn't get to championship Sunday.
Yeah.
It's gonna be interesting. I like it though. It's fresh blood. I mean, the Colts, good for Daniel Jones. It's not just the Bills, the Ravens, and the Chiefs and the Bengals atop the AFC. Although the Bengals weren't there last year, but that's kind of been the theme this year. It's pretty crazy. It's anybody's game. I mean, heck, the AFC East. I mean, you look at Buffalo, they lose to New England last week. New England wins today. Buffalo is one loss tomorrow against Atlanta from being second place in the AFC East. And everybody, including us, rightfully so, thought that division was going to be a runaway. And I still think the Bills will win the AFC East. But all of a sudden here, you look at New England, they've started to stack some victories. Something to keep an eye on as we move forward here. And they get a couple winnable games coming up. They got Tennessee and Cleveland, New England. So there's a good chance 2 weeks from now, New England goes into October 6-2. So they're moving right along as well. Now, with that being said, and we mentioned a little bit just about the quarterbacks, and Thursday night was a display of, feels like two teams that are just going in completely opposite directions right now. You have an Eagles team coming off a Super Bowl with wide receivers that are still upset with the quarterback play, a quarterback in Jalen Hurts who isn't playing well. And you have a Giants team who Jackson Dart looks very good. Cam Scatterbo and Jackson Dart are the new duo. They have now won 2 of their last 3. They are 2-4. It's still a long way to go. You hear some Giants fans in the area, the New York market, and you hear them talk about like they're 5-1. They still are 2-4, but you've seen a lot of positives. From the Philly standpoint, here we go again with the turmoil. There was some turmoil, felt like last year. They went on and won the Super Bowl. And now they're losing 2 games. Are we entering a 2023 season with Philly again, where they start strong 4-0? That season they were 5-0. Then they had the loss to the Jets. Then they were they were actually 10-1, and then they lost, I think 5 of their last 6 and lost in the wild card round against Tampa. Are we in for one of those seasons here with Philly where start strong and then start to collapse?
Absolutely. This team is fluky. They've been fluky all year, and it's starting in week 1 where they should have lost that game. Miles Sanders is double agent, fumbles that game away. They win that one. Then we talked about them somehow coming back to beat the Rams down 19. Like a lot of things that went their way to start this season. And I think the luck is over with. And it kind of just feels like this is a storyline on repeat where same thing last year, same thing year before. Get Nick Sirianni out of there. Jalen Hurts can't throw the ball. Then we have a week or 2 where Jalen Hurts lights it up in the air. There's the Jalen Hurts we've been waiting on. And then they go back to Jalen Hurts can't throw the ball. Fire Sirianni. They finally go on a run and they look good. Like, it's exhausting. It's tiring.
Bipolar fan base.
Definitely a bipolar fan base. But it goes to show you that is the real Philly. And I'm going to sound like a real hater here, and I'm going to try to keep it very unbiased as possible. They're not a very good team, like, at all. And I know it sounds crazy. It's part of the game, but they need a very efficient run game. Jalen Hurts specifically, a very good run game to be successful. I don't think Saquon has rushed for 80 yards this year quite yet. I could be wrong, but I don't think he has. So Saquon is finally getting limited coming off of that historical year that he had last year. And offensively, they look terrible. Jalen Hurts, a lot of overthrows, late passes, just not checking into things, not reading the coverages and making mistakes and not turning the ball over in terms of mistakes, but holding on to the ball too long, not getting the ball out of his hands. That's always been Jalen Hurts. He had a great run game last year, so it took a lot of pressure off of him. And I think we seen it last year. with AJ Brown and the frustration, I think he's gonna get traded. I think it's time to get AJ Brown out of there. And I mean, you kind of, even though this loss on Thursday, I kind of understand don't be selfish. We're winning, but as a receiver, you don't want to be out there for 60 minutes running cardio.
Yeah.
If you are on the goal line against the Giants and you are cover zero and you throw a shuffle pass to Dallas Goedert while I'm just standing out on the hash mark, I'm gonna be pretty upset too. So it's like, I get it. But for Philly, hot take here, I think Sirianni's gone this year. I think this team finishes, what are we looking at? We're at 4 wins right now. Yeah. I think they finish 8-9.
So miss the playoffs.
And Sirianni's out of there. Their schedule is favorable, but you lose to the Giants. Again, you sneak one out against the Rams. You sneak one out against Dallas. And they just don't look good. And obviously they can bounce back later on here throughout the season, but this is not a Philly team that you look right now and say, hey, I have confidence in them going into the wild card, getting the bye, going to the divisional. This does not look like a playoff team at all.
Yeah. I mean, you look at the way these games have gone for Philly. They could have easily lost, like you said, against Dallas. They already had the loss against Denver and the Giants and the Rams as well. They could easily be 2-4. And you even look at that Tampa. KC game, that was 3-point game, and Tampa as well was a very close game where they had the slow start. I think it was 24-6 or something at halftime, and then Tampa made the second half comeback, which fell a bit short. Tampa completes that comeback. You're talking about an Eagles team that's 1-5.
Yeah.
I mean, realistically, you can make a case they could have lost all 6 of their games.
Yeah.
And look, not taking away the 4 wins, you could say that about a lot of teams. Oh, well, if this happened, then they would lose. But yeah, I mean, they haven't played well. And here we are again, though, with Philly. I have never seen so much drama around a team that just got over a Super Bowl, was just in another Super Bowl 2 years prior to that. Like the amount of drama around this team. And here we go again with the Eagles fans. I've already seen it. Oh, I'm so tired of seeing this losing games like this. I'm so tired of Nick Sirianni. Like the Eagles fans, they act like they haven't seen any success. Like that is my biggest issue. And that's like, oh, this is terrible. This is Sirianni stinks. Jalen Hurts, I can't watch this anymore. You just won the Super Bowl. And here we are again. I still think they'll make the playoffs, but I mean, it'll be interesting. I mean, they already lost to the Giants. They'll get the Giants again twice, or 2 weeks from now, I should say. I mean, do you see a world where, is this it for like AJ Brown with the Eagles? Like, how does that all end? Because, and it hurts as well. You have to throw his name in the conversation. Is the time? It feels like the time's ticking on him as well because the whole offense has been a mess.
The AJ Brown thing of it, I mean, that one's kind of tricky. I do think he should get traded. I want him to get traded. But I feel like that's so tricky because you're not in a rebuild type of situation. You don't need to blow it up because you completely stink. But then again, your quarterback and your wide receiver one are not getting along. That's not going to work out. So eventually.
Oh, no, I was just, and here we are, like with this Eagles offense, where it took a historic season from Saquon Barkley to get them to the Super Bowl. Now Saquon Barkley has kind of regressed to the mean, got back to normal average. Actually, he's probably even a little bit below average his normal play. And now they're really struggling. So kind of to add on, basically repeating what you were saying is, if they don't have a great run game with Hurts and Saquon, or a historic season from Saquon, this offense isn't going to be able to move the football at all. And we've seen that these last 2 games. I mean, they've scored under 20 points. So,
and it's a boring brand of offense. Like there's nothing downfield. Everything is short. Everything is in the flat. We're going to run the ball with Saquon here. We're going to push. Like it's awful, 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 awful football. I hate watching the Philadelphia Eagles play football. And I'm surprised the way they win games and how they find ways to win games because they're not good. They're not exciting. And obviously, I'm not saying go out there and score 50, throw the ball around the field. That's not the NFL. That's not how football works. But there's nothing about this Eagles team, again, offensively or defensively, that if you face them, will match up against the Rams, you match them up against Dallas again. Washington hasn't looked too great. Just some of those playoff teams in the NFC where you think Philly will truly beat them because they don't look good. I think personally, AJ Brown needs to go. I think they need to get rid of him. You can get a lump sum of draft picks for AJ Brown. AJ Brown in New England has been a thing for I feel like forever, and I know New England will love that. But I think it's time to move on. He needs a fresh start. Philly is not the place for him, and I just don't think that core will ever win again.
Yeah, if kind of like a one-hit wonder where you went into the season wondering if they were going to be. Every time a team wins a Super Bowl, it's always, the next dynasty. Can they continue this? It was one great year of Saquon, and they've definitely regressed back to normal. Devontae Smith is so hit or miss as well from just the number 2 wide receiver standpoint. If the pass game's not on, he's also a non-factor, similar to A.J. Brown as well. So on the flip side, though, you have a Giants team that picks up a big win at home. And I mean, Jack Zadar, he's playing well. Cam Scattaboo playing really well. The two of them combined for 5 touchdowns. What are your thoughts on the Giants? They are exciting. They are showing promise, heading in the right direction. Like you said, Brian Dable, not even Russ comes in the game. He's not even watching. He's over in the medical tent yelling at the medical team. That just shows you, I think, Brian Dable is faith in Russ. Like, he doesn't even care what play they call with Russ. Like, he's not going to do anything. Running over to the medical tent to check on Dart. They've been great.
I don't think I've seen anything like that ever. Headset instantly comes off right to the medical tent. You still have a game to coach. He forgot all about what was going on inside the sidelines. He was like, no, I need my quarterback. But I love it. I love it for Dable. You said this, I think, last time we were on, where Dable's kind of in this mindset of like, hey, if I'm going to go down, I'm going to go down with my guy. So if it doesn't work out, hey, at least I know I gave him a shot, and it's working out. And this offensively, like, they have not looked great offensively, throwing the ball down the field, all those type of things, but they don't need to. And I know I'm seeing this on Twitter, but CTE Scatterbo, hey, he's getting the job done. Dart getting the job done. You're doing this all without Malik Neighbors. Wan'Dale Robinson has stepped up in a big way. And that's kind of it. Like, who else has played good for the Giants to step up outside of Wan'Dale Robinson? So now, here's my hot take. Trade for A.J. Brown. You have a quarterback, a rookie quarterback that we are seeing promise with, that his veteran receiver, well, you say his veteran receiver is out, his playmaker is out, Wan'Dale Robinson has stepped up. You have a running back that has been very effective for you. Why not go trade for a wide receiver that is going to continue to help you in your development? And A.J. Brown, and I know, I don't really think he has crazy loyalty to Philly. And, a lot of teams, a lot of players like to get traded in division kind of to prove a point. Yeah. Why not? Why not make a push?
It would be the opposite of the Saquon situation. Yeah. That's for sure. It's an interesting thought. That is definitely something. The Giants keep stacking wins. I'll give Dart just a lot of credit in terms of basically, what you were saying about, and I think that's been one of the most impressive things. He's doing this without Neighbors, and Darius Slayton stinks. Like, we talked about this, the receivers minus Neighbors. Darius Slayton is probably one of the most, from a fan base, internally hyped up players. Like, Giants fans talk about Darius Slayton like he's he's terrible. He's not any good. He's not a number 2 wide receiver. And Wan'Dale stepped up in a big way. Even Lil Jordan Humphrey had a big game as well. Theo Johnson had a couple catches. He had the 2 touchdowns against New Orleans and a touchdown against the Chargers. So played better in those 2 games, but starting to get him a little bit more involved, which is a positive. He's a guy that the Giants have also really, really liked and hasn't done a whole lot. So they're getting him a little bit more involved. But yeah, I mean they're getting it done without Neighbors. Dart's been solid. The rushing ability's been there, and Scadaboo's been excellent. My biggest critique with those two is they, whether you want to call them CT, Scadaboo, whatever, the leading with the head, they're not gonna remember anything when they're like 45 at this rate, really. And Dart's just gonna go to the medical tent every week if this keeps happening. And Dave was gonna have another incident before you know it with the medical tent team. So, but yeah, they've been good. I've always said, I think I've always liked Dable a lot more than most Giant fans. My bigger thing, and we talked about this when they started Dart, was the roster construction. I think Joe Shane is more to blame with the Giants schedule, or the Giants issues rather, over Dable, because we talked about the lack of the number 2 receiver. Like the last year, you had Devin Singletary at running back. That was your plan outside of Saquon, was Devin Singletary and Tyrone Tracy. That's not great. Now you added Scadaboo, of course, in the draft, and you did take Dart, but Dart was a Dable guy. And you still have some questions at the receiver spot, no doubt. But yeah, this is Dable. He put himself out there. He said, look, if I'm going to go down, I'm going to go. If this ship's going to sink, I want it to be with Dart. And he's kind of proven to everybody that you give him a quarterback, he can make this work. Can they go on a bit of a run here? Are the Giants 18? Now, you mentioned A.J. Brown. Like, can the Giants be a team here where a couple weeks from now they're 4-4, 5-4, and they're really in the conversation? They get Denver next week on the road, then Philly on the road, then San Francisco. So this tough schedule continues for them, but they have already beaten the Chargers and they've already beaten Philly. So they have knocked off 2 teams that, even though they've had their fair share of issues, are 2 4-2 teams. Where do you stand here with the Giants? Is this just a 2-week thing? Is this going to be not so much? And this is where I think it's headed. I don't think they're going to really go on a run in terms of wins, but I do think you're going to look at the Giants and they're going to kind of be that fun, frisky team that's going to be in a lot of these games. I don't think they'll translate to a ton of wins, but I think you're going to see a lot out of Dart moving forward. What are your thoughts on that?
An honest answer, I don't know. I don't want to lie and give a answer that's not truthful, because as much as we're talking about the good and the 2 wins they have, I still think back to New Orleans where they looked awful against New Orleans. So you kind of, I don't want to say inconsistent from the Giants, but you beat the Chargers, like, okay, here's Jackson Dart. They're going to look good. We finally got an answer. You go to New Orleans, you look awful. You have too many turnovers, too many mistakes in that game, and then you beat Philly. So, like, I haven't really seen nothing from the Giants yet in the 3 weeks, yes, even with 2 wins, where it's like 100% confidence. Like, this is a very good team that can beat some good teams. It kind of seems like, as in the moment, I know it sounds crazy, it's off of like, they're going off of kind of just like the vibe and the swagger, the aura right now. And it's working out like, hey, whatever to win. But I do think this is a team that still has some development. They are going to be in a lot of games. I don't think they're going to get blown out, but it does help where you have beat the Philly, you have beat the Chargers. So, hey, maybe, I mean, Denver hasn't looked good. The Niners haven't looked good. Maybe you sneak out a win on one of those 2. So I don't want to necessarily say a run, but they will be in a lot of games this year that they probably will get blown out in with Russell Wilson.
Yeah. Yeah, it's they are kind of, you make a good point. They do feel like they're going off of the vibes right now of Scadaboo and Dart. And it's funny. Have you seen that meme of them that they communicate like pit bulls, where they just scream and like head tap each other? It's like, I don't know what it's working. It's working, I guess, but they are just wild. The Giants are fun. I did not think we were going to say that this year. Yeah. So that's a positive in itself, Giants fans. Anyway, now I guess to kind of close things out, let's get into 2 teams that aren't very fun right now. Where do you want to start?
We can start with Dallas.
All right. Floor is yours.
Oh, the Dallas Cowboys. You are a disgrace to football. I mean, they're wasting probably Dak Prescott's best year possibly ever. We can argue that is going to be the case. This is going to be very Joe Burrow like from last season. MVP numbers leading in every category possible, but they don't win enough games, so Dak gets snubbed from the MVP. Um, this defense is awful. I think Matt Eberflus is awful. Someone needs to check his Hard Rock account, ESPN Bet, DraftKings, whatever is legal in over there. Actually, nothing's legal in Texas, which is quite surprising. Whatever they need to check, they need to check it. Eberflus is awful. This defense is awful. And if it wasn't for Dak Prescott being super Dak for, you know, 3 weeks, the 2 wins, of course, and the tie, this will be an 0-6 team. This defense statistically may be worse than the 2020 defense that they had, and that defense was a train wreck. I'm not surprised by today's game. We talked about it off air. I'm not surprised at all whatsoever. Carolina always plays them tough, but Bryce Young, Rico Dowdle did a press conference this week and literally said, "You guys suck, and I'm going to prove it." And he literally proved it. It's almost like the Tommy Castellanos thing earlier this year, where he said Alabama is terrible without Nick Saban, and completely just tortured Alabama. Like, there's nothing more embarrassing than somebody running their mouth up into the game and then proving their point and what they're going to do. I think he had 228 scrimmage yards, if I'm correct, which what makes it even worse. He was awful last year in Dallas. I want to say awful. He was a 1,000-yard rusher, but what he had all of last year in 17 games, he almost has that in 2 weeks with the Panthers. Like, he has a quarter of that. It is embarrassing. It is a disgrace to Dak Prescott. It's a disgrace to the fan base. This defense is awful. Like, if I could personally pack Matt Eberflus's bags and move him from Arlington, Frisco, Dallas, wherever he's staying, and relocate him, I would do it for free. I want him off my team. He sucks. That guy stresses me out. I know I'm not even talking statistics. I'm not talking anything, but just straight, it is what it is. He sucks. He is awful. Our defense is awful, and I hate that I have to watch that team, that defense at least, play football every Sunday. I will literally be gray by the time I am 35 if this defense continues.
Yeah, I mean the defense has been a disaster. And I don't know if you saw the Shoddy's post-game quote about Eberflus and the scheme. He said when they asked if the players still believe in the defensive scheme, he said that's the bigger thing. I would hope so. I would think so. So that's not much of a how do I want to phrase? Not much of a very praise towards Eberflus, and a very concerning thing to say about this defense, and really their faith, the players' faith in Eberflus and the scheme that he's running. Like, do they even have any faith in him as a coach? These players, they obviously not buying into. And why should you? I mean, why would you buy into what Eberflus is saying right now? He's been awful. Dak's been great, and you I think you were spot on. I was going to kind of bring up that comparison too, but you said it perfectly. We are entering a Joe Burrow 2024 season right now with Dak Prescott, where they have one of the worst defenses. They are the worst defense in football, but Dak is putting up huge numbers, and this is one of his best seasons. This is probably better, on pace to be better than his 2023 season, which saw him, was at third in MVP voting, or one of the finalists, second. One of the finalists, obviously. He's on pace. I mean, he might go off for 40 touchdowns. That's how good he's been this season, and they're just wasting him. And the crazy part is he's doing this, and CeeDee Lamb has missed these last couple of games. And that's where George Pickens has obviously been huge, and he's been playing like a legitimate number one receiver, and he's going to get big-time money somewhere this offseason for sure. He's putting himself in a position where he's having a big year, which we talked about going into this season. That was a big thing for Pickens, was to see how he'd perform and if he'd get big money elsewhere. But the offense is doing its job. Dak's doing his job. And they're 2-3-1. And we talked about this off air. You look at these games, their first 6 games of the season. Forget top 10 defense. Forget just top 16, above average defense. Even if they were the 25th defense or the 23rd defense in the NFL, slightly below average, but not the worst defense. This is probably a team that is 5-1 right now, right? You beat Green Bay. You obviously win this game, and you'd probably give them the Philly game as well, right? So 5-1, probably don't beat Chicago. That was kind of just a bad game all around. 5-1 though, maybe 6-0
honestly,
total, but
maybe
5-1.
6-0. I mean, Chicago game really started out for Chicago with a bang. Like offensively, Chicago came out with the intent we are going to embarrass this Dallas defense, and they did that. And it kind of gets to a point where you are out there, just from an offensive standpoint, where we have seen this with Dak before previous years, where the interception numbers were up, where the defense doesn't look so good. Now you are pressing offensively. So I think that Chicago game, the defense was so bad that the offense was pressing so much that they couldn't really get anything going because they were trying too hard to get things going. So we can argue 6-0 with a middle of the pack defense. Anywhere honestly between I think 16 and 26 defensive wise, this team is 6-0.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's really bad when you look at the quarterbacks they've just lost to. They lost to Bryce Young and they lost to Caleb Williams and Jalen Hurts, who we just got done talking about. There's issues over there. He obviously hasn't had his best season, and this Cowboys defense has made those three quarterbacks look very, very good. And obviously, this was a very signature win for Dave Canales and Bryce Young. And Bryce Young has had some bumps this year, but he's starting to come around a little bit. But yeah, I mean, Dallas is. It's got to be. It's so infuriating. I think more so is just wasting Dak and the fact that he's now 32, going to be 33. Like, how many more years are you just going to throw away as Dak approaches his mid-30s into his late 30s? These are the years that you can't just throw away like this. And they're throwing it away. Do you feel a change is made at defensive coordinator?
I think you have to. I think during the bye week, which I don't know which week it is exact, but I believe November 6th is our bye week. So I think you have to make a change. And I mean, you look at it, and I know I see the fans on Twitter that's optimistic, where it's like, oh well, once Overshown gets back, we'll have a pass rusher, which is our very good linebacker that does a lot. But once Overshown gets back, he adds that element. He can pass rush, he can cover, he can do all these type of things. He can't do everything at once, though. So I was having this conversation with my dad where I tell him, I think if Micah Parsons was still on this team, this is still not a very good defense, where they might get a little more pressure, but the others stink. The linebackers stink. Our secondary stinks. Like, it is awful all around. And then sometimes it's not necessarily about the players, it's more the scheme. And I'm going to use Minnesota, for instance. Minnesota doesn't really have anyone on that defense. Van Ginkel, maybe, that jump out at you. Like, okay, that's the star guy that you have on that defense. Their scheme is just amazing.
Yep.
And we have the names. We have Diggs. We have Bland. James Houston look good. Sam Williamson look good. Like, we have these names that will do well. It's just the scheme is awful. And I think until they change that scheme, this defense will continue to get torched week in and week out. And for offenses, I mean, you know how we love to say this term on our show, a soft landing spot. I think for any team struggling, when you face Dallas, that is a soft landing spot to get your offense going. We've seen it against Chicago. We've seen it today. We've seen it against the Giants. And that's just the truth of it. The defense is awful. And if they don't fix it, this team will miss the playoffs.
Yeah, that's a good point, too. I didn't even take into that account. They let Russell Wilson throw for 450 yards.
Yeah.
And 3 touchdowns. And Russell Wilson
got benched the next week.
Literally.
He got benched the next week.
Russell Wilson's head coach, when he's on the field now, is not even watching the game.
Yeah.
That's where we've gone to with Russ.
Even after that game, Dable was still non-committal to Russell Wilson. Dable kind of knew. It was just that Dallas defense is awful. He gets benched the next week to the point Russell Wilson is so bad. I'm going to say this again for all the viewers. This might be the 6th time we've said this on here. We're going to say it again. Make it 7. Jackson Dart got hurt, went to the medical tent. Brian
Yeah.
Dable forgot to coach the game. He basically paused the game in real life, which wasn't even really paused, but paused and said, "Yeah, I'm not doing this right
Yeah.
now. This is where I'm focusing at." He didn't even. It was so bad. He didn't even want to watch Russell Wilson actually on the field play football. He went to the medical tent, and that same guy threw for 450 yards on our defense.
Dable was
It's
like,
bad.
you have to think I'm crazy if you think I'm going to watch Russell Wilson take a rep in this game. If you think I'm watching Russell Wilson drop back and pass, you've got to be crazy.
I think it's to the point if Dart did have a serious concussion, Brian Dable probably would have opted for open brain surgery to swap their brains momentarily just to get Jackson Dart back out there before he let Russell Wilson play another snap in MetLife Stadium. And I get it.
Yeah, I mean, the last time we saw snaps for Russell Wilson inside that stadium, he threw 2 balls into the locker room and one that hit the upright. So, at least, I mean, the goalpost was open.
That's true.
Just didn't make the play. The Cowboys, it's frustrating defensively, the struggles. And what is your faith that this team can muster up a playoff just to get in at this point? What's your faith the rest of the way? Washington, Denver, Arizona before the bye, then you get Vegas. So a couple softer schedules, but like you said, any offense looks at this Dallas defense right now and says, well, this is a softer landing spot. Like Washington, Denver, Arizona, Vegas, all these teams, they're going to be licking their chops when they face the Cowboys right now.
I'll say a 6 out of 10 if I had to pick kind of a scale to go off of, because truthfully, Dak is not going to play lights out every single week. He's going to have some weeks where he struggles. I feel like Denver will be one of those weeks off the top of my head. So, a week where the offense can't get going. And we've seen it. I mean, Chicago already kind of showed it, where a week where the offense can't get going, you can't rely on your defense to hold anybody to 17 points and, you muster out 20 game-winning drives, whatever the case is. That is not the deal. And I know a little off topic, but still on topic. But that's the issue with Baltimore when Lamar was playing, where the defense cannot muster up enough stops. You need super Lamar, you need super Dak, and you're not going to get that every single week. So I say a 6 out of 10. Luckily, Denver has not looked good. Philly has not looked good. Arizona stinks. Vegas doesn't look good. But our defense still has to find ways to impact the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's rough spot to be in. And one team that they looked good against was the Jets defensively, which isn't hard to do right now. Today was disgusting. Today was gross. Again, I'm sorry to all of the London football fans that watched maybe their first football game today. I promise you that is not normally what happens in American football, only the Jets. So I will recommend not to follow the team in green today for the rest of your life. That is a huge mistake. The Jets are a disaster. They are a train wreck. They're the worst team in football, 0-6, only winless team in football. And today, to me, was the worst coach game this year from Aaron Glenn. And today, to me, was the alarms have already been sounding, but today, to me, if you're a Jet fan that's not concerned with Aaron Glenn and not really considering this being a one and done situation, then it's just blind optimism. It's blind faith at this point. The alarms, in my opinion, have to be sounding on this coaching staff already. It's funny because a couple weeks ago when they were 0-2, 0-3, everybody was like, okay, if they get to 0-6, 0-7, 0-8, then we can really start to have a conversation about this coaching staff being a one and done. Well, life come at you fast in the NFL. We're 3 weeks later and they're 0-6. And today was awful. And the reason why today was so frustrating is Denver did not want to win this football game. If you watch this game, Denver had no business winning this game. They did not want to win this game. They were literally handing it to the New York Jets and begging the Jets to win this football game. The Jets defense finally, for once, played well today. For once, they actually played well. The special teams made some big plays today as well. And the offense was a disgrace. Justin Fields, -10 net passing yards. -10. By the way, I have to read you this stat because I couldn't believe this. Obviously, nothing's unbelievable. But the Jets today finished with negative 10 passing yards, which is the lowest by any team in a game since the Chargers, with Ryan Leaf in his third NFL game in 1998. So Justin Fields did something today that the NFL hasn't seen since Ryan Leaf. Not good company to be in. And the Jets' negative 10 net pass yards today is the worst in a game in Jets history and worst by any team in the last 27 years. Like, legitimately, when you look at this 2025 New York Jets team, they are finding ways every single week to reach new lows. Last week, they finally forced a turnover today. They actually recovered a fumble, which was a miracle. Last week, they were the only team in the NFL history to start 0-5 and have 0 takeaways through those first 5 games. Now, this week, they're doing something that this franchise has never seen, and that's crazy to think because all of the bad quarterbacks that this franchise has had. And I think what today was so concerning was Aaron Glenn lost them this game. Justin Fields was awful, but the fact that Justin Fields was still on the field late in this game and in the second half and they didn't put Tyrod Taylor in is a direct indictment on Aaron Glenn. If he wants to preach accountability and he wants to preach this no-nonsense type of culture that he says he is building, Justin Fields should not have been in that football game in the second half. He should have been benched. Tyrod should have been the quarterback late in that game. At halftime, they should have made a change. And I don't know if you saw, but there was a couple sequences. The sequence before halftime was one of the most disgraceful displays of coaching I've ever seen. No urgency whatsoever. 25 seconds left on the clock. They just let the clock run down. And Glenn's reasoning was, we didn't want to give them the ball back, and we got the ball to start the second half. That makes no sense. You got to get points. You got to find a way to get points any way you can. And to me, that shows you have no faith in your offense. Yep. Which then if you have no faith in your offense and you have no faith in your quarterback, because they clearly have no faith in Justin Fields because they're not letting him pass, they continue to run the football. They weren't taking any shots. They had no explosive plays today. Then why is Fields still in the game? The second sequence was at the end of this game. I would have taken my chances with Nick Folk, who hit a 58-yarder earlier this season from 62 yards over the Jets converting a 4th and 8. And he blew a timeout on 4th and 1 and then punted. Why are we blowing a timeout on 4th and 1 and then we're punting the football? Like, what's the point of that? So I think this was by far the worst coach game from Glenn today. This was on him. Fields was terrible and taking 9 sacks. He held on to the football for 3.25 seconds in the first half. He was awful, and he should have been benched, and that's on Glenn. The alarms have to be sounding on Glenn, and I mentioned earlier about Harbaugh. If the Jets go 2-15 this year, I'm firing Glenn. It's got to be a one and done. If they win 2 games this year and get the number 1 overall pick, I'm blowing it up. This has got to be a one and done scenario. This team is the only Jets team, actually the last Jets team to start 0-6 in a season was the 2020 Gaze year. This Jets team is Adam Gase, Rich Kotite levels. That's how bad it is. And Glenn's coaching right now is with those 2 names, which synonymous in Jets history for all-time bad. What are your thoughts? I mean, it's there's got to be a sense of panic and a sense of alarms sound on Aaron Glenn. And I'll be honest, there's so many Jet fans that are just like, oh, no, you have to give him next year. If he wasn't a former Jet, there would be Jets fans calling for his head right now at 0-6. 100%. Just because he's a former Jet doesn't mean anything. He's 0-6. This team stinks. And he keeps Justin Fields out there. The in-game decision-making was awful. Going forward on 4th and 8 as opposed to kicking a 62-yard field goal was terrible. And as we all know, that 4th and 8 play, Fields took a sack because why not? Why throw the football when you could just take a sack? They're a disgrace. They might not win a game this year.
This is a bad football team. I'm watching that game. I'm right with you. This halftime sequence. What was it? 1 timeout, I believe.
Yeah.
You get the ball in the second half, but it's to the point where your defense has played so good, it does not hurt you to take a few risks, to take a few gambles, especially in that spot where you are getting the ball back in the second half. I'm not going to say never. Obviously, we've all seen it, but anyone knows. 12-year-olds on Madden know, hey, I got one time out, I got a few seconds. Let me go get some points. Let me go get three. Let me work the sideline. Let me get the quick game going because obviously defenses are going to play a little softer. They don't want to get beat deep. Let me work the middle of the field. Also considering I have a timeout. One big chunk play, 10, 15 yards, when you have one of the best receivers in football by the name of Garrett Wilson. If anyone was curious, Garrett Wilson is a top 8 wide receiver in football that they don't use properly. You have Garrett Wilson, who is so effective with the ball in his hands. Get him the ball, see what you guys can do, and go get 3 before halftime, knowing you get the ball back. That gives you some momentum. The defense is already keeping you in this game. Why not be slightly aggressive? So that, I don't understand. Another thing where I don't understand from this Jets team that I've been watching just this week and last week as well, why does Justin Fields continue to play? And you just said that. Why does he continue to play?
Yeah, they have no faith in him. Like you were saying, target across the get the ball across the middle of the field. Like there's guys running wide open with Justin Fields. He just doesn't throw it because he can't process an NFL defense. And that's what's infuriating. They clearly don't trust him because they're not passing. They're not letting him pass. Like the Jets had 0 explosive plays today, basically telling you they didn't stretch the field at all because they have no faith in him. So if they have no faith in him, why is he playing? I'm spot on with you. And that's coaching. That's Glenn. Like the Jets have nothing. They have no loyalty to Justin Fields. They handed him $30 million guaranteed this offseason. He was to come in here and try and prove himself as potentially being the long-term option. Like you didn't draft Fields. You have no loyalty to him. How does it hurt you if you go out there today and it does, like if you bench Justin Fields today, it doesn't mean you can't play him next week. Yeah. All you have to say is, hey, look, Fields didn't have it today. We felt Tyrod at that point gave us the best chance to win. Fields gets another opportunity next week. Like that's all. Like you have no loyalty. They're acting like Fields is a rookie and they don't want to hurt his confidence. This is his 5th year. This is it for him. Like you have no loyalty to him. You gave him $30 million guaranteed. Like, what do you do? Afraid to hurt his feelings? It's pathetic. And that's what I'm so sick of Glenn already is he preached accountability. He preached to us how this would be different from the previous regime. You can't preach accountability and only hold certain players accountable. Like you cut Xavier Gibson. Right? You only make certain moves. You only bench certain players, but you can't do that. You can't 1 minute say accountability and the next minute the quarterback stinks and you keep him in the game. They win this game with Tyrod. Tyrod takes over that final drive. They can't even get in the field goal range. And
if they also don't play together. It's like no one plays together. I don't. Was it number 21? Is there 21?
Stevens
on the Jets
Brandon
roster.
Stevens. Yes.
Okay.
He's terrible.
There's a sequence in that game. Courtland Sutton, I believe it's Courtland Sutton catches a slant on first down, and Andre Cisco is on the field just completely screaming at him.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but it's just like. It's just little things like that where, yes, you want to hold people accountable and those type of things, but like it shows there's no togetherness on that football team. There's no leadership and anything, Cisco, that's your fault. I'm pretty sure you're supposed to come down and, make a play and you chose not to.
Yeah, Cisco's been awful. That whole secondary has been a disgrace. Sauce has had his fair share of issues today, although Sauce was actually pretty quiet today. He held his own. I'm sure when I look back at the numbers tomorrow and see how many, I'm sure he probably actually had a better game today. Not that Denver's rolling out any elite receiving core by any means. I mean, Sutton, 1 week's a number 1. The next week he plays like he's a number 4. Like he's so hot and cold. But yeah, I mean, even with the defense played well today, but there were a couple penalties. I mean, Sutton did have another first down that he caught that called back because of a hold. And then there was the Troy Franklin first down with Stevens got beat actually on the slant. And it also got called back for hold. So like I said, Denver hurt themselves today and the Jets couldn't win. Like they got a safety, they got a turnover. They had the fumble, they were in a plus territory, went 3 and out, kicked the field goal. They had a 72-yard kick return, plus territory, had to kick a field goal. Just bad team. They're just a bad team. Like good teams convert touchdowns on those. The Jets have not scored a first half touchdown since week 1. And I have to say this too. Because there's this notion around this Jets fan base that, oh, Fields is great in the fourth quarter. And Glenn actually mentioned this in his press conference on Friday. The Jets are the garbage time Jets. This team's the king of garbage times. You saw last week against Dallas, the way they played in the fourth quarter. That's all garbage time. And most of Fields' numbers going into this game, 75% of Fields' touchdowns and 32% of his yards have came in the fourth quarter. And the Jets going into this game, on average, have gone into the fourth quarter before they score their first touchdown. On average, they're trailing by 20 points. So basically, they're scoring their first touchdown when they're down 3 scores. So much for Glenn saying how that's just when Justin Fields finds his rhythm. And I've seen Jets fans say that, oh, just wait until they're in a game in the fourth quarter and Fields will prove that he's a late game quarterback. Well, he had a chance today. I didn't see any fourth quarter magic.
Also, just out of curiosity, why wait until be super Justin in the fourth quarter? Play 3 quarters of good football.
And you wouldn't be put in a situation to come back in the fourth.
Yeah, another funny thing of the whole Justin Fields thing, I don't know what the numbers look like today. Obviously not good, but a little fantasy football talk here. A friend of mine that I work with reading me off Justin Fields' fantasy points each and every week. The guys that think they know ball off fantasy football, if you turn on your TV and watch Justin Fields play football, you are going to understand fantasy is so swayed. Like if you look at his fantasy numbers, you're like, oh my goodness,
he's like a top 10
quarterback.
Yeah, he's a top 10 fantasy quarterback, and nobody takes into account that all those things are happening in the fourth quarter in garbage time. Like the Jets went into the fourth quarter last week against Dallas down 30-6, 24 points. They came out of it with 22 points. 16 points came in garbage time. So, and same thing against Miami as well. And same thing against Tampa. Now, Tampa was Tyrod. But same thing with that game. Todd Bowles blitzed 40% less. He basically cut the amount that he blitzed in the first 3 quarters in half in the fourth. Jets came back and scored. And that was also the Will McDonald heroic. It took all of that just to come back in that game. And they still lost because the defense couldn't get a stop. But yeah, they're the kings of garbage time. It's a joke. And today they had a chance. Field goal range. All we're asking. They couldn't get in the field goal range. 4th and 8, he took a sack.
And then Garrett Wilson with the big drop. I believe that was another 4th down. Another drop from Garrett Wilson. He's had some big ones. And it's costly.
And there's, like, he had Garrett twice today. He threw it behind him. Like, Fields, he's on those routes near sideline. Like, he's got to get the ball out once Garrett's out of his break. Like, as he's getting out of his break, he's got to throw the ball. Fields waits and then throws it, and that allowed Surtain to gain some steps on him. Same thing happened earlier. He threw it behind him. Like, he was staring at Mason Taylor wide open and took the sack. He's horrible. He's honestly, when I say this all honestly, I'm not even joking. Watching Fields is literally emblematic of Zach. The only thing he does differently, like today, this was Zach Wilson level bad. It was. The only difference is he's more mobile, and he'll make a couple plays with his athleticism that'll make you say, wow, like the 43-yard touchdown against Miami. That's a play where you'll be like, wow. And then he'll turn around and have a game today where when he's not using his legs, he stinks. Like, he's only good as a runner. Let's be honest. He's a running back. That's what he is. They're such a disgrace.
This out of the blue, this is just kind of just a speculation. What do you think? I mean, it gets to the point, Fields is not the answer. Obviously, he's not the answer. Tyrod's not the answer. He's kind of just your bridge and non-bridge guy.
Couple games could play well, but he's not long-term, obviously, no.
I mean, do you pick up the phone? Do you call the coach for Anthony Richardson, which I know is not too much better, but just to find something where it's like, hey, we're going to try to do something to make it work. We just seen it with Cincy calling Joe Flacco. So do you call Anthony Richardson? Do you call maybe the Niners when Purdy get back and get Mac Jones? Like, what do you do next? Or do you sit there and just go out with the ship, let it sink, and rock out with these two who can't win a football game, although Tyrod did look better than Fields when he played in Tampa.
Yeah, and I just trust Tyrod, too. Like, Fields dropping back to pass gives me the Zach Wilson. Like when he drops back to pass, I'm genuinely panicking. Like it's not fun dropping back to pass. Tyrod, at least when he drops back to pass, you could trust him a bit more. Like, okay, he knows what he's looking at. Like Zach, you knew he didn't know what he was looking at. And Fields, he can't process the defense either. So like anytime Fields drops back, you're like, where the heck is this football going to go? They're not going to do anything. Their move was Fields. Like that was their, okay, we move on from Rodgers. We get our young quarterback. Let's see if he can come into this scheme and fix the issues that he's had in his career so far. He showed some positives in Pittsburgh last year. Let's see if he can carry that into this season. They're going to be sellers. Like I think Breece Hall's days as a Jet are very numbered. I would not be surprised if Breece is dealt before the deadline. I think Breece will be traded. They're going to sell off pieces.
Yeah.
And I've said it. I want Glenn to work out, and I hope he turns this around. They've got 11 games. We've got to start seeing progress, though, but it's got to start becoming a conversation about this regime being a one and done, because you can't sit here and tell me if they get the number 1 overall pick that I have any faith in this coaching staff and this regime drafting that quarterback and developing that quarterback. No faith whatsoever. And if somebody like a Harbaugh's out there, you give him a blank check immediately. So that's way down the road. But if they win 2 games, if the Jets get the number 1 overall pick, I am firing Aaron Glenn, because that means they probably won 2 or 3 games.
Yeah.
And you can't bring them back if they win, especially if they win those 2 or 3 games in December. Like this is where, like, if they start to show you positive signs moving forward and start to win some games now, fine. But you know what's going to happen. They're going to win like 2 of their final 3 games. They'll beat like New Orleans, who stinks. And then they'll beat Buffalo because they're sitting all their backups or sitting all their starters because they already have like something clinched. That's what will happen. They'll win those like final 2 games. They'll get to 2-15 on the season, and they'll say, let's run it back, because they won 2 games against a crappy Saints team and a Bills team that was resting their starters. I already know what's going to happen. And I don't think they'll fire Glenn because Woody spent a fortune on him and Woody Johnson's too cheap to let him go. He's not going to eat that money in year number 1. They're such a train wreck. They're such a train wreck. It's days like today, it's years like this year where you really just question if this team's ever going to get out of this playoff drought. Like the law of averages would tell you they would at least make it once. Like every team, Brian Dable stumbled into the Giants, stumbled into the playoffs with Daniel Jones. Like you can't stumble into a 9-win season. Forget about making the playoffs. They can't even stumble into a winning season. I mean, the Jaguars stumbled. Like the Chargers made the playoffs with Brandon Staley. Like they can't even muster up 9 wins one of these years. It's been a decade since their last winning season. So they're a joke. There's still a lot of parts of me that say until Woody sells this team, nothing's going to change. He'll never sell the team, so we're just stuck in this. But 15 years, no playoffs. 3 more years, and they've hit the Bills for that 18-year streak. Joke. And even, like, they're going to draft. You know what's going to happen. They're going to draft a quarterback, and he's going to stink.
Yeah.
And 3 years from now, we're going to be back to the drawing board. We're going to be looking at some old, washed-up veteran to try and save us. Like Dak will be like 37 and they'll be like, let's pick up Dak, and they'll suck. That's what's going to happen.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. Anyway, any closing thoughts?
See you guys next week. As usual, thank you for watching. Sorry for that awful display of not only 9:30 but 1 o'clock. So 6 hours of mid football that you experienced. But thank you for the support as usual, and we will see you next week.
Yes. See you next week. Jets, Panthers, Cowboys, Commanders. We'll see what happens. So talk to you then, and appreciate you all.